The flight from Frankfurt landed at Murtala Muhammad International Airport on a humid Thursday afternoon. Passengers spilled out, dragging suitcases, their faces weary but relieved. Among them was Efeh, his jeans faded, his sneakers scuffed, and his once expensive jacket carrying the weight of too many winters. His eyes darted quickly, scanning the arrivals hall as though looking for a way to stage a performance. After all, this was the return he had fantasized about for years. He had spent 15 years in Europe, promising his family that he was building wealth, chasing opportunities, and securing a future for them. Now, he was back. But the truth was far less glamorous. Efeh had failed. He clutched a borrowed suitcase, its zipper threatening to burst, filled not with luxury items but with second-hand clothes and cheap perfumes bought in clearance shops. He had no savings, no business capital, no car, not even a strong plan. What he had was pride, and pride demanded a show. As he walked toward the exit, he rehearsed the lies he had been telling over the phone. Stories of success, of businesses in Berlin, of cars and houses. He had crafted a version of himself that gleamed with prosperity, but the reality was hollow. His younger brother Daniel stood waiting at the gate, waving excitedly. Daniel shouted, hugging him tightly. Behind him were two cousins, clapping and cheering. "Our big man has returned." They took the suitcase from him as if it carried gold. Efeh smiled, his teeth clenched. He nodded, greeting people with forced confidence, keeping his shoulders high as if to match the image they believed in. On the drive home through the chaotic streets of Lagos, Daniel kept asking questions. "So how many cars did you ship? Did you buy land already? I know you'll soon open a company here." Efeh laughed nervously. "One step at a time," he said. "You'll see everything soon." His stomach knotted as he stared at the hawkers at traffic lights, their faces hardened by survival. He remembered when he used to be like them before leaving for Europe, before borrowing money from half the village to pay an agent who promised him paradise abroad. He remembered the cold nights in Germany, working illegal jobs in restaurants, cleaning toilets, sleeping in cramped rooms with 7 other immigrants. He remembered the endless rejections, the police raids, the hunger. He had hidden all that from his family, only sending filtered photos of him standing beside cars he didn't own, in front of houses he didn't live in. Now those lies pressed down on him like heavy chains. When they arrived in the family compound, the celebration began. His mother ululated, neighbors gathered, and children danced around him. "Our son has returned from Europe," she declared proudly. They brought out drinks, fried meat, and music blared from an old speaker. Everyone praised him, some whispering about how he would soon lift the family out of poverty. Efeh played along, smiling, handing out the perfumes and shirts he had stuffed in his bag. "This is just small," he said. "Bigger things are coming." But as the days turned into weeks, the truth began to strain against the surface. People expected to see his wealth. Relatives asked for money to pay school fees. His mother begged him to help renovate the crumbling family house. Old friends arrived, reminding him of promises he had made years ago. "You said you'd help me start a business," one insisted. Another whispered, "Oh boy, a beg connect me to travel abroad like you." Efeh brushed them off with vague promises, but inside he felt cornered. He had nothing. To maintain the image, he borrowed money from Daniel, claiming it was for investment. He bought new clothes on credit from a local boutique, pretending he was waiting for funds to clear from his foreign accounts. He went out at night to expensive lounges in Victoria Island, making sure to post pictures online of cocktails, neon lights, and his smiling face beside people he barely knew. His social media painted the portrait of a successful returnee, but reality gnawed at him. He was living a performance, one mistake away from collapse. The pressure grew unbearable when his mother introduced him to the elders of the community. They wanted him to contribute to a project for the village. "Our son who has made it abroad must show example," one elder said, patting him on the back. His mother looked at him with pride, her eyes shining with the belief that her son was different, that all her sacrifices had finally borne fruit. Efeh swallowed hard. He promised them a donation soon, his voice firm though his insides trembled. Then came the wedding invitation. An old friend, Tunda, was getting married. Efeh knew everyone from their youth would be there, the same people who had doubted him when he left, the same ones he wanted to impress. He could not show up looking ordinary. He scraped together more borrowed money, renting a flashy car for the weekend, buying an expensive suit on credit. On the day of the wedding, he arrived with music blasting from the car speakers, stepping out like a king. Cameras turned, people clapped, whispers spread. "Efeh Don Hammer, Europe money sweet." For a few hours he felt alive, basking in admiration. But pride is a fragile thing. Efeh wore his sharpest suit, the one he had borrowed from a tailor and promised to pay later. He walked into the hall with the confidence of a king. The live band's drums thundered, the guitars hummed, and the lead singer's voice boomed through the speakers. "Efeh, our brother from abroad, Efeh way they run things for Europe, na you they shine pass." The praise singing wrapped around him like a crown. Guests turned to look at him, smiling, nodding in approval. Some whispered, "That's the returnee," and others stretched out hands to greet him. Pride swelled in his chest. This was the moment he had dreamed of. As the lead singer moved closer, voice rising higher with every lyric, he expected what every musician expected in Lagos weddings: money to rain down. A few thousand naira notes sprayed into the air, stuck to sweaty foreheads or pinned to shirts. It was a ritual, an unspoken code. The richer the praise, the heavier the cash. All eyes turned to Efeh, waiting. He reached into his pocket, felt the thinness of his wallet, and smiled awkwardly. "Make I just quickly go car my money day there," he mumbled. The singer, still strumming, stretched his neck. "We dey wait abroad, man." He forced a laugh, hurried outside, and instead of returning, slid into the back seat of a taxi. "Driver, move," he barked. His heart pounded. The shame burned hotter than the afternoon sun. He couldn't face that hall again. By the time he got back to his small room that night, he counted his last notes. Barely 500 euros. Once that sum might have meant something. Now it was crumbs. Rent, food, transport. It would vanish in days. He buried his face in his hands. Days turned into weeks. The little money melted away and hunger sharpened his edges. One evening, with desperation gnawing at his belly, he wandered into a dusty street where men crowded around a small betting shop. The air was thick with cigarette smoke and the shouts of gamblers. Screens flashed virtual football matches, odds glowing red and green. Efeh hesitated, then stepped inside. He exchanged a few euros for naira and placed a bet. For a moment, luck teased him. He won a small amount. Excitement flared. He doubled down, chasing more. But soon the screen showed red, loss after loss. His few euros evaporated. Sweat drenched his back. He pulled out his phone, staked it, then his shoes. "This one, sure," he told himself, eyes glued to the screen. The odds were low, the game simple. Surely it would bring him back. But when the match ended, his number flashed on the losing side. No, check am again," he shouted, grabbing at the counter. The attendant sneered. "Oga, you don't lose. Leave story. I need my phone back," Efeh roared, lunging forward. But before he could snatch it, rough hands grabbed him. Street boys circled, fists flying, kicks landed in his ribs. Someone tied his hands with a rope. Call your people, make them come bail you out, one barked. Efe's lips trembled. No, I can't. Please. Another slap cracked across his face. Call your family or you go sleep here. When he refused, the beating resumed. His body screamed with pain. Finally, broken and trembling, he gave them his brother Daniel's number. Within minutes, Daniel's phone rang. The boys held up a video call. On the screen, Daniel saw his older brother, barefoot, swollen-lipped, tied like a goat. See your big returnee, one of the boys mocked. If Una no send money, na hear him go die. The video spread like wildfire. By the next morning, Lagos had a new gossip. Efeh, the fake big man, exposed in rags, begging for rescue in a betting den. Neighbors shook their heads. So this na the abroad life? His mother wept, unable to walk outside. Daniel couldn't hide his fury. All this for what, Efeh? For lies? The shame was now complete. There was no illusion left, no mask to wear. In the weeks that followed, when his wounds healed, he had nothing. No money, no phone, no shoes, no pride. He drifted until he found himself in a quieter town. This time, there was no returnee act, no lies to uphold, just survival. He took work under a carpenter, sweeping sawdust, carrying planks, learning to sand wood. His palms blistered, his back bent, but the small daily pay was his alone. Slowly, he began to feel something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. Months later, he returned to his mother's house. She didn't scold him, didn't ask about money. She simply held him and whispered, Efeh, I did not need riches. I only needed you to be alive, to be honest. The words broke him, but they also mended him. In time, the mocking faded. People saw him selling wooden stools and tables in the market, sweat dripping down his face. No longer the flamboyant returnee, but the humbled man who had fallen and risen again. He began to tell young men the truth about Europe, about how hardship follows you if you run from it with lies. Some laughed, some ignored him, but others listened. And though Efeh could never erase the scars of his disgrace, he carried them with him like lessons carved into wood. In Lagos, a city obsessed with image, he had learned the hardest truth. No borrowed shine lasts forever. Only the light you kindle with your own 2 hands can endure.